Well, it's Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. This is AM Prime here on WESN. Let's tell you what's happening on this edition of the program. We will be talking along the way with the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, Mr. Foster Cummings, as well as one of his associates, Gashel Jilks Edwards, on something they call the Youth Agriculture Shade House Project. That's to come. We're also talking with Darren Leasing, who's the managing director around here. 2 years in the business on this channel. We will find out about the journey and we'll talk about what's ahead. Also, Daryl Rampasad, the president of the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago. Agriculture gets a boost in the budget, and we're staying with the budget in our opening discussion now with Mr. Linus Phillip. He's president of the Route 2 Maxi Taxi Association. That's the red band maxis that work between Port of Spain and Arima. The budget has taken up again, the second time in the year, the cost of fuel. How is that impacting the business of transportation, public transportation in that sense? Mr. Phillip, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. You heard me okay?
Yes, good, very well.
Okay.
So have you all begun already to feel the impact of the increases in the fuel prices, and is that something you welcome? Was it inevitable? What basically, how are you all circumstanced by it?
Well, if any fuel increase is going to impact the transportation industry and for the maxi taxis, however, what we have to look at is what the impact is.
Right.
That is what we deal with. We are expecting it because it was announced a few years ago that the government is going to get rid of the subsidy. And we are seeing that they are gradually taking out that subsidy, which gives us a chance to maybe do the necessary adjustment rather than, to have to do a big adjustment. That is good. Any impact, as small as it is, it adds up. How we adjust it, that is the important thing. We have to take into consideration that our ridership, the people we transport, and how do we deal with that, how we deal with it to stay afloat as businessmen. So this is the association, this is what the association look at in dealing with things like that. A lot of people banter and talk around that maxi taxi going to raise their fares and this and that. I think the track record, if you look at it over the years with the increase of fuel, every little increase that the government make, we just run and raise fares. Right? We take into consideration who are our clientele. We transport, the majority of our clientele is the lower middle class and poor people, right? So we take all that into consideration in adjusting our fares and these type of problems. Because if we don't, then we put our own self out of business.
So have you all met since? Well,
Monday? We have a meeting tonight. The executive have a meeting tonight at 8. We have a meeting, a Zoom meeting tonight at 8, where we'll be discussing the fuel, the 50 cents that was placed on the diesel, because the majority of our vehicle is diesel. Excuse me. And also we'll be discussing the impact of the whole budget on the industry, right? Because we don't operate by ourselves. We have to, we deal with business people where we have to purchase parts and other things for our vehicles. So we'll be looking at what that impact would be, if any, on our industry before we really finally say what our move will be.
So you're not going into the discussions with the position that it is that the increase in fares is inevitable, saying that would be a point for discussion, and it could go either way. There may be a situation in which you all believe that you can absorb this second increase in the year without increasing your fees.
Well, I definitely not going to say that now without having discussion with the executive. What I can tell you though is that we had an increase in fares November last year. Right. And we do increase to absorb a certain amount of costs. Right. So that is going to be looked at. As I said, maybe a wait and see process too. As I say, we don't really operate on fuel alone. You have brakes, you have oil, you have all these other parts that we have to purchase from other people. And as I say, we look at the budget and look at the impact it have on the citizens, on the businessmen in a whole, and how to see how they react and what they do, because that is going to impact on our operating costs also. So all these things are taken into consideration before we consider increasing fares or anything like that. We don't just run and raise fare because fare raise.
Yeah, so as you say, you look to see what the people from whom you get parts and other kinds of supplies, what the situation is. Is there a sense in which you all have discussions with some of your, call them service providers, people who you go to for
yeah, from time to time we have discussion with some of our main providers. In the sense that we have some of them offer to the maxi taxi operators certain discounts and certain things on parts and things like that. But at the end of the day, we cannot really tell somebody how to run their business. They are running their business and they deal with any increases and any impact from the budget. They have to deal with that on their own. The domino effect from that is what we and other citizens have to deal with.
Yeah, so as we speak, there's no pressure on you, on your executive or the leadership from the general membership as to what to do?
No, there's no pressure on us. But what I could tell you right now, on the high end, what we call the maxi taxi drivers that we call runners, which do more running than the guys who really walk the line and pack up more. So on the high end, we have the increase. They use about 80 liters of fuel for the day, right? So their increase, so that 50 cents will roughly be about $40, right? Some people might say it's only $40. $40 is money. If I add it up every day and then by the week and by the month, it's going to impact the income, right? There's two things we look at: our ridership, what that would be like, and what our fare increase is going to do with that. Now, if you notice that the increase in the gasoline price went up, the increase in the gasoline price went up tremendously, and what we are hoping to is that a lot of people might choose to transportation in the sense that they might choose to travel rather than to drive, because driving becomes a little much more costly for them. Right, so that is going to make an impact. If that happens, that is going to impact our business, and then the more people who travel, not necessarily but it will help cover the increase in cost, because right now we have the capacity to carry. Right, we have that capacity, but we don't run at full capacity as it is right now because they reduce ridership for different reasons. If you look at in the past, Trinidad was, we were basically a traveling nation. Everybody traveled. We had a good bus service. People used to travel because they had access to transportation. Over the years, that slowly changed around. We become a driving nation. Everybody drive. What caused that? Right? Subsidized fuels and the foreign use market, access to vehicles. People.
You mean more people drive now than probably used to per capita, right, over the years, relatively speaking.
More people drive now because of two. I believe of the main thing is that the foreign use market make vehicles accessible to a lot of lower income families. So they purchase vehicles and they drive, and they had subsidized fuel. The fuel cost was low. So a lot of people drive because they could afford, it was affordable. But that is slowly changing in the sense that the government is taking out the subsidy, parts is going up. So a lot of people rethink in their position, should I drive 5 days a week or maybe drive 2 days a week when necessary, right? They have something to do and they need the transportation, the drive. Other than that, maybe it's cheaper for me to park it up and travel.
Yeah, you made a point earlier about some of your, are they members or just people who also operate in this sector? You call them runners. Those are the people who don't stay in a stand. They move between point A and point B.
Well, that is how our service operates like that. That is what makes it efficient. Everybody pay a part in the sense that everybody can run up and down the road. Right? Some drivers choose to park up the way they work, so they come and they join the line, and it have what we call the runners. They basically run the road because on the road it always have somebody waiting to travel, right? So everybody basically have the access to transportation, and that is what that operation is what makes the service efficient.
Yeah, and what do you know as to what is the more profitable option in that, as far as you know? Is it or it doesn't make much of a difference?
Well, the runners obviously going to make more money, and they are going to make more money based on, and we just call it a gamble, because at the end of the day, it's not a guaranteed trip. So you might run up the road one trip and get a full trip based on the time you're running and how much guys running together with you. And next trip again, you might run and you might barely make anything. So that is why the guys and them just call it a gamble.
Yeah.
So sometimes you make, sometimes you don't make, right? But obviously now it's more wear and tear on your vehicle. It's more wear and tear on you.
All right.
You burn more fuel.
Yeah.
So, right. So it have the guys. At the end of the day, you're more tired because you work more.
All right.
So
all right.
We have the guys. So at the end of what happens is that everybody work according to their financial constraint.
Right. And what their situation is.
Yes. Some guys might say, well, look, I need to work like this, and then other guys might say, based on my financial position, I don't need to work like this.
Yeah, as people used to say, every tub sits on its own bottom in that sense.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna have to leave it there. So we'll expect that when you all meet, and we will be interested in getting a sense of what the consensus might be if you all reach consensus as the association. But we want to thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. I also want to let the public know that they don't need to worry about no big hike in fare increase, because I think the membership leaving to kind of hold their hand with.
All right.
But then we're going to see how that goes.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Linus Phillip, the president of the Route 2 Maxi Taxi Association. The Red Band Maxis moving between Port of Spain and Arima and vice versa. We will take a break. When we come back, we're talking with Mr. Darrell Rampersad. He's the president of the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago. Again, we're staying with the budget, its impact on these various parts of the business sector. Stay with us.
You get 100% wood moldings and products when you use Bob's Molding for your decorating finish. Call or WhatsApp at 315-6250.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
In a hurry, check those guys' hardware. 42 Front Street, Woodbrook. Call 750-7244. Open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays at 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you do in our country.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white, and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back to the program. With us now is Mr. Daryl Rampersad. He is president of the Agriculture Society of Trinidad and Tobago. We're talking about the situation regarding the society and regarding this subsector called agriculture production. There's lots of discussion about it, its place and its relevance and its importance to the country, to the economy, to going forward, to making changes with how we eat, how we develop. The sector has been given, it says here, $1.330 billion more in the budget than last year. $81 million more than last year. This first question to you, sir, good morning. Thanks for joining us, is to what extent you can say that what was allocated last year, you received?
Well, the Agriculture Society, what we received last year would be absolutely nothing, because in terms of project subvention, we didn't receive any, right? That is one thing to note. But in general, the budget that was given, that 1.3 is just a slight increase, because the original budget from prior year just covered salaries, wages, and overhead costs. For this entire year, my organization couldn't even access issue items.
What is that? Fishery items? What you mean?
Issue items, simple items such as issue items, we couldn't access this year.
So it's not it's cut and dried. It's not straightforward as we see it here. So the figure $1.330 billion, it doesn't happen like that. You don't at the end of the year.
And there's a big difference between allocation and releases, right?
Yeah, yes.
So this is what was allocated, and you heard in the budget where they spoke about a $300 million allocation,
yes,
to boost agriculture. But we are not excited about that, because we heard it last year and we heard it the year before when the Minister of Finance announced another $500 million the year prior to that also. And we saw nothing happening. That didn't even trickle down to the consumers, because right now fruits and vegetables are at a history-breaking price.
So how do these things work then? One supposes that, so the announcement has been made, there's going to be a budget debate, and at the end of that, this is what goes forward. At what point your organization will seek to meet with somebody, whoever it is in the ministry, as to how these allocations are supposed to be distributed, and what kind of time frame?
There's a process that you need to go through, right? And you need to, for example, our organization, we need to go through the Ministry of Agriculture, who will then need to send back that to the Ministry of Finance, who would then in turn need to send it back to the Ministry of Agriculture, who then sends it back to us. It's a very time consuming, because since the month of June, actually, we was trying to get a small sum of money to help the flood victims in Trinidad and Tobago and those affected by the heavy rainfall. And if you look at the time period from June till now, the budget has just been read, and we wasn't able to satisfy that demand outside there for assistance. And statements are being made that agriculture is a private sector industry and that the government shouldn't be a farmer. I agree that the government shouldn't be a farmer. However, the farmers need that assistance from the government. And when you look at the budget, it doesn't leave much room for development and growth for the agriculture sector, as well as in terms of improvement. In terms of infrastructural development, we didn't see that happen in the year of 2022. And we are hoping that they're going to pay some attention to agricultural infrastructure in the upcoming year, in terms of being proactive with water channels and access roads, bridges, these kind of things, to what the farmers are requesting are very basic needs to enable them to produce, but the budget doesn't leave much room to enable the farmers of Trinidad and Tobago.
So in this kind of situation, so what was promised or allocated last year, you haven't gotten that to the extent that what was said, the expectations that were created.
Like I said, it's a big difference.
Yeah, does it work such
Allocation
that,
and releases.
yeah, does it work such that that allocation is still to come?
No, that monies that wasn't spent or wasn't received in the prior year is going to be sent back. And what you're going to start dealing with is the current budget. So what wasn't utilized for that physical year of 2022 is going to be sent back.
That's dead.
Back then, yeah.
And so how do you respond to these things, these realities then in a day and a time when so much emphasis is ostensibly being put on agriculture to go forward and to change the nature of the society, to change the nature of our consumption patterns and that kind of thing. I mean, with you know, all the hype that was made about this youth agri tech expo that was held in the savannah, which people from
well, we were hoping after such an event like the Agri and Investment Forum, right, that came to Trinidad and Tobago, that we would have seen a little more focus in terms of agriculture and development of agriculture. Whilst we are happy about the development in terms of youths in agriculture outside here, we need to also be mindful that there are hundreds of students that are also graduating from the University of the West Indies and UTT with the same qualification. What happens to these individuals who are waiting to go into the job sector, agriculture job sector? What happens to them who are waiting to go into farming, right? Such a program also needs to look at these individuals who are also qualified in the sector. Besides the youth in agriculture, we cannot ignore our daily producers that we have in agriculture. These individuals are up already while we are speaking here and outside in the field. We need to cater to the needs and the assistance of these individuals outside there to ensure that we have food on the table. And if we don't do so, we're going to continue to see the increase in food prices because there's nothing much encouraging individuals to get into or to stay into agriculture.
Yeah, and can you tell us anything about how the association and your membership may be involved in this proposed collaboration with the Metal Industries Company Limited, the Institute of Technology? What is that about? And you can tell us about.
Well, we are not involved in that program currently, right? But the program with the youths in agriculture also, we was also not invited to be a part or a stakeholder in the event. So the criteria for the program in terms of who is awarded or who is allowed to take part in the program is still very questionable. And as it pertains also to that $300 million allocation, day before yesterday, I signed a document under the Freedom of Information Act, Section 13, asking how the $300 million was spent for the 2022 physical, because we need to know where the money is being spent, because we are not seeing it outside here benefiting our farmers.
By when would you expect to get a response?
We are hoping within 30 days to get a response of that. And as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and the president of the Agriculture Society, I have a duty towards the membership and all farmers of Trinidad and Tobago to answer as to where the funds went, because our farmers are not seeing that. Imagine in this day and age, I still have farmers using what we call a bison, right? And a cart to access their land. So tell me if we are going forward in agriculture, if we are going backward, because it burdens my heart to see what the farmers in Trinidad and Tobago are still facing.
And to what extent then, this goes back to the issue over some of your members, I'm not sure if they are involved in the leadership of the organization, who decided to boycott that very Agri Expo event at the Savannah, and there was a difference of opinion among those who boycotted and yourself and others who went. To what extent what you're saying now gives sort of greater, I would say, understanding and credence to some of your members who decided they didn't want to participate in that because they're not certain about the assuredness of what was happening.
We need to understand that everybody is entitled also to our opinion, right? The issue we had there is that the organization had rules and that we didn't charter that protest that took place there. However, I understand the sentiments that was faced or felt by those members of the Agriculture Society, seeing that the farmers are in such a predicament at this moment and nothing is being done to assist those individuals outside there. Nothing is being done, and we are outside here hosting an investment forum. But at the end of the day, we are known to host these things, but what happens to continuity after the event? Where is the continuity in agriculture? Where is the continuity in such events that took place there? We saw a lot of discussions taking place that could benefit Trinidad and Tobago, but unless we are able to satisfy the needs, the basic needs of the primary producers in Trinidad and Tobago, we are not heading anywhere.
Yeah. And so the push for us to grow more and to grow more of what we eat requires
well, it requires all these things that we just spoke about, including access to land tenure, infrastructural development, and access to finance. And one of the members of parliament spoke about on another panel that there was enough incentives for the farmers of Trinidad and Tobago to benefit from. But is the incentive program farmer friendly? Because in order to access the incentive program, you must have access to land tenure, and over 65% of the farmers in Trinidad and Tobago don't have access to land tenure. Therefore, they cannot access the incentive program. So stating that the incentive program, yes, we have a very good incentive program, but it is not farmer friendly. Our farmers are not currently benefiting from the incentive program, and it needs to be revised, and the criteria in which we are able to get our farmers badge in Trinidad and Tobago also needs to be re-examined.
What constitutes the criteria?
Again, access to land tenure. And if you don't have land tenure, just as the other 65% of the farmers in Trinidad and Tobago, you don't have a farmer's badge. If you go outside to the farmers of Trinidad and Tobago, most of them who are producing right now, they don't have a farmer's badge. If you go into certain areas too, imagine Orange Grove is a designated planting project, Jerningham, designated planting project. And some of these areas, the farmers still don't even have, at least after so many years of occupying the land, having an offer letter, but still you don't have at least 50% of land. All these are issues that needs to be rectified right away. And if the former Minister of Agriculture is the individual who was given that responsibility to regularize that issue in terms of lands and leases, I think it's a hopeless cause, because if he couldn't fix it as the Minister of Agriculture, I don't see him doing that as a chairman of a committee.
But it seems as though he appeared to be doing a lot. I mean, there was a point when every other week he was giving out at least some letters for people who had been in the business for years, decades, and so on.
They appear to be decades. Yeah. And that's just a handful of the individuals outside there that we need to be dealing with. Remember, we also have, besides these individuals who are waiting the leases after 30 years, we have the carrying workers who are still complaining that after how many years they still haven't received leases and whatnot. Besides that, some of the lands that was also given out was also promised infrastructure. So some of them who also received the land cannot even access the land because there is no roadway, and some of the areas do not even have available water supply to do agriculture. And without that, how are we to perform and how are we to produce?
So why do you think
the needs in agriculture,
basic? What do you know about why the process seems to be so convoluted and so complex? Because again, the minister, one of the ministers, Camille Robinson-Regis, was featured in the papers just weeks ago with people from Orange Grove dealing with this matter.
Well, one of the issues
both matters. We're trying to fast track the business of finalizing the arrangements for the people who were promised lands from the closure of Caroni Limited and other issues. So what do you understand to be as to
why?
One
of the issues too is that the documentation, in order to get a lease, it must go to Parliament to get approved. And remember, Parliament deals with a lot of issues, So it's rather difficult to have a pile of leases waiting for approval while Parliament is dealing with other issues. I think that the process needs to be changed, and there needs to be a committee put in place for proper approvals, but however, a strict management policy must be put in place. For example, the farmers, in order to access your lease, must be fitting the criteria as required to do so, right? It shouldn't be a friend and family business as we always see things running Trinidad and Tobago. What should take place is that there must be a monitoring system in the state as it pertains to state lands. We have failed in terms of enforcing state land regulations, and that is the reason why also we are in such a mess today. When you visit some areas that was originally given out for agriculture, you happen to see 3 or 4 houses on it. And why wait until we see it reach to that stage to ask a question? We need a body that manages that process in terms of state land regulations as well to ensure that the lands that was given out for agriculture, right, is actually agriculture taking place on these portions of land or parcels of land.
Yeah,
because if you take a drive around in some of the areas, you would see that they are abandoned lands. So I once made a statement to take back the lands, but I didn't make the statement stating to take back lands from farmers. What I meant is that lands that are underutilized or abandoned, we need to investigate these parcels of land, find out why it is not being used, and look into giving it to persons who are genuinely interested in agriculture. Because another individual, another member of parliament stated that we do have persons interested to plant. And that is an understatement, because on a daily basis, I have farmers coming to me and asking me how to access a piece of land to do agriculture. But again, there is no area in Trinidad and Tobago or no office that you can safely walk into and say, I'm interested in agriculture and I want to apply for 5 acres of land. None. If you go into state land, it's not a friendly place. You meet a counter. Who are you going to speak to?
The Land Settlement Agency?
Who are you going to speak to? LSA is separate from the state land policy when I say, because LSA now mostly deals with the squatting side of it and regularization of those things on that side, right? So they are more or less dealing with that portion there. But when you're dealing with agriculture and you go down to El Sicuro, state lands there's nobody to actually deal with you or talk to you about how could you access a portion of land. And that's a question being asked on a daily basis. What's the criteria? So therefore, when you see individuals outside here also cutting down land and starting agriculture, it's because they didn't have a choice but to do so. But what we are against, right, is individuals who are cutting down land and blocking or land grabbing and not doing agriculture. And again, if we don't have anybody enforcing state land regulations, that is also going to continue, because we have issues taking place outside there where people are cutting down state land and selling it, which is something illegal. You cannot sell state property. But we have individuals outside who are cutting it down and stating it belongs to them because they are the occupier and they're actually selling parcels to other individuals.
Well, you say you cannot do it, but maybe you ought not to do it, but you're saying that people are doing it. So people are buying people are selling and people are buying.
People are buying because, again, nobody enforces state land regulations. They need a body under state land, right? A committee or a body that goes out there, investigates and enforces state land regulations too. Also, there are individuals outside there who may be holding parcels of land, doing nothing with it, and they need to get serious about it. It's either you get serious or pass it to somebody who is going to produce. And this is the stage where we are at, because with the increase in prices too, the members and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago need to start planting, reaping, sharing, and starting all over again, because we are in a situation where I'm very sure citizens cannot afford the price of produce right now in the market.
All right, Mr. Rampersad, we're going to have to leave it there, because but I wanted to ask you to what extent you know of this a new program. We're going to be talking with the minister responsible and one of his officers, the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, on something called the Youth Agriculture Shade House Project. Is the Agriculture Society involved in that? Is associated with that?
Again, we wasn't invited to be part of that program for some reason.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there.
Because we speak our mind.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, sir. Daryl Rampersad, President of the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago. We will keep talking as we go along. Thank you very much. We're going to take a break. News on the other side of that. Foster Cummings, the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, and Gashel Gilles Edwards on that very program, the Youth Agriculture Shade House Project. And we're talking also with Mr. Lee Singh, the younger one, Darren, about this business, this operation that is known as WESN. 2 years and counting. Stay with us.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Business Association optimistic following Minister of Finance signals. Doma says nothing has changed. Opposition MP says government never fulfills budget promises. And Tutor President stages one-woman protest. Now for the details. The president of the San Juan Business Association, Jason Roach, expresses his hope that the signals given by government will lead to economic stimulation. Responding to the Minister of Finance's presentation, he was particularly pleased with the closing of the budget deficit and remained optimistic of potential economic growth.
We were very pleased to see that the government has closed the gap on the deficit that they've been running, right? I believe that is down to, well, it has been cut by 7.66 billion. Right, that is very welcoming. We are very pleased to hear the payments that are allocated for the Ministry of Health for those healthcare workers during the COVID program, as well as signals to boost the construction. I believe that these signals could lend to stimulating the economy.
Nothing has changed. This was the sentiment expressed by President of the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association, Gregory Bood, on the fiscal package. Speaking on WESN's budget panel, Mr. Bood said much of the package is repetitive and he does not believe much will be done to see these commitments made by the government come to fruition.
We are in for much more of the same. There isn't going to be any change in the current conditions that we are experiencing or in the overall quality of life of the citizens. Perhaps there is going to be more pressure on the cost of living or more pressure on the price structure in the country. And there's no transformation taking place. I mean, I am not complaining about this particular minister or any minister in particular. They all do the same thing.
Meanwhile, opposition MP Anita Haynes says there are many smoke screens within the recently read fiscal package. She believes nothing new was stated apart from the increase in fuel costs.
We come here year after year, we discuss the budget, we discuss these ideas, but let's face the reality. The fact is, we are getting a lot of recycled promises. We need to hold, correct, and we need to hold the government to a standard of implementation, not a standard of promises. This question of allocation versus releases is something that I've faced over time as a member of parliament.
Well, Tutor President Antonia Taker de Freitas staged a one-woman protest on Tuesday to voice her displeasure with the recent injunction filed against the organization by the Ministry of Education. She says teachers continue to suffer and she will continue to do whatever it takes to remedy this situation.
We have recognized that there's not a willingness by the state to negotiate in good faith. I am here this morning to represent my members, to put their plight in the public domain, and hopefully for persons to understand what we are going through at this point in time, living on 2014 salaries in 2022. Long live Tutor. As president, I am starting this charge. I am standing here for however long it takes, doing it however many times I need to do it, to get the state and to get the public to understand our teachers deserve better.
Well, that was News to the Hour on WESN. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to the program. We're happy to have with us at this juncture the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, Mr. Foster Cummings, and one of his senior associates, Gashel Jilks-Edwards. She's the program coordinator at the ministry, and we're talking about something called the Youth Agricultural Shade House Project. Good morning to both of you. All right.
Good morning, and
okay, well, let's start with you, Mr. Minister. Outline for us what exactly is the Youth Agricultural Shade House Project.
The Youth Agricultural Shade House Project is a project that came out of the visit to Guyana. You recall that the Prime Minister led a team to Guyana some time ago, and following upon that visit and projects that he would have visited there, this particular project is one that he was impressed with and asked the Ministry of Youth Development and the Ministry of Agriculture to pay a follow-up visit to Guyana, which we did. And following that visit, we did enter into arrangements with the Guyanese government, and several projects are intended to flow from that. This is the first project. It is an agricultural shade house project, and the name speaks to the nature of the project in that it is an agricultural project that involves what we would call undercover arrangements, where the vegetables are grown under shade. And these are for high-value crops. The intention is to have this project done in conjunction with the University of the West Indies, who will certify the participants in shade house production, and with NARI of Guyana, which is the institute in Guyana responsible for the project there. We'll be doing it in conjunction with them. It's aimed at persons 18, over 18, I think, no, 16, sorry, from 16 to 35. And we intend in the first cohort to train 100 young persons in high-value crops under the shade house arrangement.
I want to tell you, Mr. Minister, that a couple of nights ago with the budget discussion, the post-budget discussions around here, one of the ringing sort of criticisms of the government, and not necessarily this government, this administration alone, but it's part of our governance culture that announcements are made, pronouncements are made, things are launched, projects are launched and put out there for people's consideration, and it takes years sometimes before you get to move the second step, and people, they say we have a deficit of implementation in the country. Against that basis, how is it you're saying that this project came about based on things that happened just months ago? What makes the difference in this case?
Well, we have some energy coming out of the Ministry of Youth and the Ministry of Agriculture in terms of mandate to train a cadre of new farmers, because, you know, we do have an aged farming population, and the government is determined to restock that particular industry. And so you know that we have launched already the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program, which is a program designed to train young farmers in both traditional and modern techniques, give them land to practice their trade, and as well funding and technical assistance will be provided. So that we, in terms of our commitment to the agricultural sector, we have been showing and demonstrating that we, of course, are determined to be very serious about this. The Homestead program has already been launched. We have 200 participants in training at UTT ECIAF. And this particular program, the Shade House program, has already been advertised for participants. And the first cohort of 100 will start at the university in mid-October. So that in terms of these projects that we are discussing here, there's no question that the government is determined to make sure that they take place. And
that's like a little over two weeks from now. You said mid-October, right?
Yes, applications. We did extend applications very shortly. Mrs. Edwards will speak to that. And our first cohort should start in mid-October, which is in a couple of weeks.
All right, can you take it up from there, Jilks Edwards? What is your role in all of this?
Okay, so certainly my role is to ensure that Minister Cummings, as you have indicated, that the program is implemented. The application process commenced on the 24th of September, and it will end on the 7th of October. And we saw it fit to extend it to ensure that all persons get an opportunity to apply for this program, and that the actual orientation for this program begins on the 13th of October, as he indicated, and the university expects to begin their training on the 17th of October, Monday the 17th.
Right. So that applicants, you are the person who will superintend that process, the applications process and the qualification process and so on?
So university would have guided us. They would have asked that, the applications, that we ensure that the minimum requirement is 3 O-levels. There's a panel of persons that are selected at the ministry, including external persons, also a representative from the university that will go through the applications and make the selection. We are also partnering with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services. Minister has allowed them through their police youth clubs to make recommendations for 20% of the applications to ensure that persons who are most in need of being a part in this program do get access to the information and get some sort of preferential treatment to be oriented and inducted into this program.
Is it too early to ask for a kind of assessment as to what might be the level of excitement or interest that you're picking up now?
I will definitely say, Mr. Johnson, that what is happening is that the ministry is actually tailoring its programs to respond to what is happening globally. And what is happening globally is that young persons are interested in doing things that are more sustainable for the environment. So this shade house production and management program is going to ensure that we have a climatic response to agriculture. It allows us to not be impacted severely by the changes in temperature, by drought, by flooding, and so forth. And when we do things this way, young persons, because they have extreme access to the to online platforms, they see the value in it and they want to become involved because it is not traditional. Agriculture is not traditional to our culture. So we have to make it transformational, and they are seeing the impact that the environment is having. So when we tailor our courses in such a way, it piques their interest and they want to be involved. They want to know how can we manage pests differently? How can we, reduce the impact of the change in our climate? And how can we contribute and co-create in our economy? So they are quite interested in this program, and as Minister Cummings said, the Homestead program.
You expect that you probably will be oversubscribed for it?
I know for certain that we will be oversubscribed. We are already oversubscribed, and that's okay because it is an ongoing program. We intend to take on 3 cohorts. Our previous program, we got 1,400 applications, and we were only able to select 200. So this program, we are selecting 100 persons, and we are already over the amount of persons that we would be able to take on, but we would be taking on more persons in following cohorts.
All right, let me come back to you, Mr. Minister. I saw you uttered a kind of silent chuckle there on this question about interest in the program.
Well, only because what Mrs. Just Edwards has said is so accurate, because as we advertise our various programs out of the ministry, we have been getting tremendous response. We've had the Amplify program, we have had the All Set program, which trains persons in heavy equipment operation, Amplify, of course, in music production. We have had several programs in terms of small skills in barbering, hairdressing. And as we advertise these programs, all of them are oversubscribed. The young persons who may have left secondary school and trying to find their way in terms of their career path are excited about taking part in these programs and training themselves to get into business or to make sure that they can enter the job market. So, I mean, we are doing what we have been given the responsibility to do. You would know as well that we are working on the reopening of the youth camps. Work have already started. So, as you made the point that, sometimes announcements are made and the follow-up, it does not take place, we can give the assurance that in terms of the programs we have announced, not only from the Ministry of Youth Development, but even from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we have had 2 apprenticeship programs, one in woodworking, one in light for the manufacturing sector. Coming out of the Ministry of Agriculture, we have the Agricultural Incentive Fast Track Program for young farmers. And so it is a all-of-government approach. And we have been, in particular, making sure that our young people have access to many training programs.
To what extent the integration of programs such as these into the work of the ministry, that is the name of the ministry, Youth Development and National Service, these things form, you would say, on the face of it, elements of the name of your ministry and the mandate of your ministry, Youth Development and National Service?
Well, what we did very early is that Cabinet appointed 2 advisory committees. One treating with the question of youth development and the program that we put in place for the development of our young people in terms of training and technical vocational learning and so forth. And the other committee treating with the question of national service. Both committees, the first committee was headed by former Minister Anthony Garcia, and that committee submitted its report. It dealt with the youth camps, it dealt with the non-residential training centers, it dealt to some extent with some of the programs we are treating with now in terms of what we just announced, and concluded that we will establish a national youth development agency of Trinidad and Tobago. That particular legislation is currently drafted and will be before the Parliament, hopefully before the end of this year. And that agency being put in place will now be able to attract the requisite professionals that we need to execute these programs in terms of our overall mandate in youth development. The second committee dealt with the national service, and that committee also submitted its report, and Cabinet accepted its report, and very soon you will see the rollout of our national service programs. We have already started work in terms of developing our first national service center at Mausika, which currently houses the CCC program, the MyLat. Cabinet has recently agreed to reintroduce the MyPath program. And those programs, run in conjunction with the specialized youth services coming out of the Defense Force, will be focused on our national service objective. We have a second campus that we will be introducing in this fiscal at Beach Camp in Paliseco, a former Petrotrin property that the government has assigned specifically towards the national service programs, and we will soon be launching that center in South Trinidad. All in all, we will be able to, under our national service umbrella, train and recruit approximately 1,500 young persons annually. And on the national, the youth development aspect of our work in terms of training and upskilling young persons, we intend as well to train a large number there. So that in addition, we have the enterprise development aspect of our work that is being done in conjunction with NEDCO, so that the 3 platforms that we have been given the responsibility for are well on their way to achieving its objectives.
You know, I'm glad you raised the Palo Seco project, because that's my home community, Los Bajos, in fact, and so the people, I don't think I'll be forgiven if I don't seek to raise that with you, because again, there's been talk about it, and you know, I've spoken with the MP for the area about it, and I think he's involved in it to some extent. In addition to that, there's some things planned for the Los Bajos youth facility, correct?
Well, you do have quite a lot of information, Mr. Johnson. Yes, we will as well be developing the former NESC location in Paliseco, Los Bajos. As a matter of fact, I know that a contract has already been awarded to refurbish that facility, and that facility will be one of our non-residential centers that will offer several range of programs in that fence line community of former Petrotrin, where a lot of young persons who may have traditionally gone towards the energy sector for employment will now have a range of training programs available to them. I can tell you as well that plans are underway to engage in training programs geared towards the energy sector, utilizing the training facility at Paliseco that previously was operated by Petrotrin, now Heritage, and we are in discussions to have some collaboration with regard to that facility, training young persons to get involved in the production side in the energy sector.
No, I don't know if it's going to be a contravention or violation of the protocol arrangements, but I want to give the last word to Ms. Ms. Jilks Edwards, coming back on this program, the Youth Agriculture Shade Project. You looking forward? There's nothing in the way that will block the ambitions from being realized, you would say?
Oh, certainly not. With our team and with Minister Cummings at the helm, there's certainly nothing that I can foresee that would obstruct the execution of this program. As we already indicated, it will commence. It's not that it may commence, it will commence on the 17th of October by the University of the West Indies, and the infrastructure development will follow soon after. The actual production will take place at Tucker Valley in Chaguaramas, and we are collaborating with the Land and Settlement Agency to execute that infrastructure that will assist these young persons to be able to execute their works and become co-creators and new agro-entrepreneurs.
Well, our thanks to both of you, Minister of Youth Development and National Service, Foster Cummings, and Gashel Jilks Edwards, Program Coordinator at the Ministry. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thanks for having us.
Very welcome. We'll take a break. More to come. We're not done yet. Stay with us.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport, October 3rd to October 23rd, with replays on October 24th. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
In a hurry, check those guys' hardware. 42 Front Street, Woodbrook. Call 750-7244. Open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Sundays and public holidays at 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Get 100% wood moldings and products when you use Bob's Molding for your decorating finish. Call or WhatsApp at 315-6250.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch ultra-slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order, or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Matt Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Well, this is where things get tough. This is, you don't have, this doesn't happen too much. You get a chance to, or you have the responsibility of interviewing the boss, and that's what this is about. Darren Lee Singh, the managing director around here at WESN, 2 years in the business. This operation has been going. What were the ambitions set out? To what extent are we walking on that road? What's there to do? How we move forward? Good to see you.
Andy, thank you for having me on EM Prime. And I'm happy to say, yes, 2 years. We're proud of it. We're happy for it. We're happy for this major milestone. On behalf of Rodney Ghani and myself, I'd like to say thanks to the public for the journey thus far. What have we done? I would say we set out opening in the middle of this pandemic to be different, to give the public the content that they deserve and allow local television to finally wake up. I think it was a sleeping giant for some time. I'm seeing a lot of the media now finally investing in local content, and I would say the impetus was on us to drive that home. But for us at WESN, the reality is that in 2 years, you received a CBU award for us at the recently concluded CBU Awards for comedy. We Comedy Jam is a pilot show of ours that sought to bring laughter to the public. We sought to dissect what are the problems we saw emanating out of the pandemic, and we came forward with a show. And obviously anchoring with news and commentary with yourself and talking point, we believed that ultimately we would harness a good cross-section of professionalism that could be carried in television and media. Our other element that I would say was a success is where we became executive producers, co-executive producers of the short film I Dream of Calypso. Talent harnessed from our local creative sector that truly manifests itself on the screen. That's the first of many productions that we would go engage in. And ultimately, Andy, what people don't realize is we're not just broadcast, we are a production house. We are a full production house. So you could get everything that you desire, and so we encourage all the creatives to come to us, partner with us, and let's see your dreams come to screen.
But what would you say is the sense you get from listeners, well-wishers? The feedback I get is highly positive a lot of times.
Well, they say we're the best visual quality. I think I would boast and say we're the most objective. There's nobody pulling the strings at the top of us and trying to dictate what we say or do. That's a very important element and caveat of what we sought to achieve when we opened the doors. And everywhere we go, especially Sean and Keaton come back almost daily telling you stories. Sule tells you stories. Well, Rondell in his professional legal world, they all talk about it.
Rondell Donovan, yeah.
And so you can't help but marvel at how they all come back and say, hey, we're now household names. And so we were able to achieve that in a 2-year span. And kudos to us and our team for it.
And the sense that, young people emerging as professionals in the business, there's a lot of good positive buzz about that as well.
Well, that is another caveat of what we sought to achieve. The young tend to be disenfranchised, and this Gen Z, Gen X, and millennial group, they all seem to not want to associate to what were the norms or what we perceive to be the norms. And so part of our assignment is reaching them and engaging them and wanting them to be a part of who we are and what we do.
You want to talk a little bit about the sort of industry challenges that you're meeting and how?
Well, the first one is, I think, obviously the advertising is not there the way we want new media to have advertising. And that is to be expected. It's a global phenomenon coming out of the pandemic. We saw budget earlier this week. and we understood what is coming in the pipeline for Trinidad and Tobago. But ultimately, I think my appeal is to all the other media houses in Trinidad and Tobago. The time has come. The last real survey put on by MFO was 2014 was a quantitative and 2016 was a qualitative. And so I think we owe it to the advertisers to bring forward a survey, and not just one. We need to trend it to really get to the heart of what the people want and who they represent. And so I'm asking all our media practitioners across the board to understand the importance of trending data and what it means to our industry and the sustainability of it.
Yeah. And you want to talk a little bit about what might be some of the things in the works as you seek to fill out the canvas even further?
Well, many people keep asking for the Destra Garcia show to come back, and our soca queen is traveling the world and earning her dollars, and nobody can take that away from her. But we hope that it will come back. We ultimately want to do a lot more short films, a lot more movies. Our team is asking for it, so we're hoping to deliver. We're into production mode right now because there's Diwali coming up, there's Christmas, and Carnival next year. It seems like Carnival has already started the moment they signal it this summer. So leading into next Carnival, I think... They're
describing it as the mother of all carnivals.
Well, I believe it will be. The people will starve for it, and so you'll see it not only here, but in all the diaspora hotspots. You'll see the wanton desire to revel.
Yeah. You talk about Destra, there was a picture in the paper with her the other day. Because of apparently the way she's performing, she was overtaken by exhaustion someday recently. But it means that she's out there performing a lot.
No, we love Destra here. Destra, this is Destra's home, and we knew when trying to place that show that Destra was the right fit. When you talk international and you talk Ellen and you talk all these Oprahs and you want to combine them and put them into one personality, loved or hate, more love than anything, Destra was that element. And social media is begging for her to come back, so we're working on a way to bring her back as a staple show with us here.
Yeah. So lots of plans still in the works to be rolled out, and there's much more ground to cover.
I would say, Andy, in our back pocket, we have probably about 20 shows to come. It's just, we are a little ship pushing in a big ocean.
In a big ocean, yeah.
But we will do what we have to do to make those shows come to life. I don't see us as competing with anyone else. Our competition is ourselves, as we seek to give the audiences what they deserve, and rightfully so.
Yeah. So in a lot of cases, it's ambitions, aspirations being realized step by step.
Step by step, we go for it. But Andy, I only wanted to join us because it is 2 years. I wanted to join the anchor show with yourself, and I really want to make this call out to our team. I think on behalf of the chairman, the board of directors, and the management team, I'd like to thank the guys here at WESN who keep us alive. You have your master control with Ryan, Nicholas, and Miles. They're here with you early, and they stay late. They stay till the end. You have the news team, Denise, Marquis, and Keaton. You have production. I mean, those guys, that is where creativity is a buzz. You have Sean, Neil, Aliyah, Joash. Oh my goodness. You couldn't ask for a better group of creatives. We have traffic in Anne. We even have a special lady who lends her time in Nicole as our accountant. And you have to say thank you to these people, all right? And of course, the presenters, Andy. You have Renata Singh, our Madam Fix-It. Andre Errol Batiste, he's the face of sports. Sean and Keaton, they're talking point. Yeah. Rondell Donowa is strictly legal. Sule, he's psyched. And of course, the veteran journalist of Trinidad and Tobago. A man who really should be putting up his feet at this time and sitting on a beach. and reveling and traveling the world. He gives of his time to Trinidad and Tobago and the world. I can't help but say thank you to you, Andy, for what you do and what you contribute to making us who we are.
It continues to be a pleasure, man.
But my last call, Andy, I know we touched the MFO. That is something that I will continue to call for. I have to thank, on behalf of the WESN team, every advertiser who placed their trust in us and who came here and who continues to support and keep this project going. You have to say thank you to them. So we're humble and grateful that they placed their trust in us.
Yeah, and I just want to give some props, as the young people say, to the team that put together the revival of North Coast Jazz, because that was a big hit for a lot of people and continue.
Well, you enjoyed yourself.
Very much, very much.
No, North Coast Jazz, and indeed all the other projects that we ourselves emanate out of this building, 30A, it's projects of love, projects of passion, projects to make a difference. Ultimately, that's what you want to do. You want to know you've left a mark, at least positive, in at least one person's life. Hopefully, with what we are doing, it's in thousands.
The multiplication will be significant.
The factor is there for us.
Significant. Let's leave it on quoting Bob Marley. For this organization and for the enterprise and the people involved in it, forever.
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you very much, Darian Leasing. Well, that's our broadcast. In this edition, we want to thank you for watching. We tell you can get in touch with us here at AM Prime at WESNCC. Send your messages to us on all the social media platforms and send your emails to amprime@wesncc.com. That's it for this edition. Up ahead, today's edition of Talking Point and much more here on WESN. Stay with us. I'm Andy Johnson. Enjoy the rest of your day. We see you tomorrow.